Hi guys, a very good morning. This is Dr. Sajja Suneel from Data Science Department. Today I am here to discuss you about a small introduction to Communication Web Servers API. What these Communication Web Servers APIs are. Basically, in Internet of Things, we require some communication APIs, which are application programmable interfaces, which are used for communicating between client and server. Between the communication, we are going to interact with the web servers where we are storing the data, we are collecting the data, and we are also saving the data for our purposes. Processing, we are going to process the data which was saved over there, and we are analyzing the data. For those kind of things, we require an internet connectivity with these web servers, and for interacting with those web servers, we require some communication APIs in our Internet of Things. Let's have a quick view about this topic called Introduction to Communication APIs Web Servers. What exactly the basic outcomes and objectives are for these communication APIs and web servers. Communication APIs are the application programmable interfaces which are used for communicating between client and server. Web servers are the things which are acting as a backbone for the network in Internet of Things, which where it was a place where we are storing the data, and it was a place with that data we are analyzing the data. With that place we are utilizing that particular data whenever we require. And for communicating with that web server, we require some communication application programmable interfaces. What are the main objectives for this particular topic was we need to enhance our understanding about a clear comprehension of communications, APIs, and web servers among the people who are utilizing these IoT systems. And also, we are going to demonstrate how much important, how much crucial role these APIs and web servers in modern application development they are utilizing. And also, we need to provide knowledge by equipping the attendances with a practical knowledge by using this API design, as well as web server technology, as well as integration. And you guys need to show some interest towards the foster curiosity and exploration of API development and web server technologies. These are the main objectives which are aimed for knowing about these communication APIs and web servers. What are the outcomes after completion of this successful topic discussions? The main outcome which we are going to achieve was we are having an awareness about what exactly these APIs are and what exactly these web servers are. And also, you are going to gain some knowledge on different kinds of API types and different kinds of web technology and how this integration was. Along with this, you are going to develop your skills in foundational understanding of this particular API design and principles, as well as configuring the web servers also. And you guys are having that problem solving skills while identifying the potential challenges for solving the solutions of the API development and web service management also. And also here we are going to apply the knowledge which we had on these API skill development as well as API web designment and web servers in the real world projects also. These are the outcomes which we are going to achieve after successful completion of this particular topic discussion. And now we'll have a look what exactly these communication APIs and web servers are. And if you observe these things in the current modern applications, we can say a simple word called it was a backbone for the modern applications. These communication APIs and web servers acts like the backbone of the modern applications. Why? Because have a look. I'll tell you with the digital symphony for these APIs and web servers. As you all know, the today's world was interconnected. Why? Because every person was using some kind of application, and every person was utilizing some kind of IoT designs in their regular day-to-day activities. And in some way or some other way, it was an interconnected connections which are established throughout the world. And there are some applications and there are some services which requires, which are has to be communicated very seamlessly. Here we are going to see how exactly these APIs and web servers come into picture. There are some unsung heroes who creates a complex interaction about the scenes and powering the digital experience which rely on daily basis, guys. Now, first we will see how APIs are. What is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface, which is essentially set out a particular rules and protocols to allow different kinds of software applications to communicate with each other, guys. Application programmable interface which set out with a specific rules and protocols that going to allow you to perform on different software applications which are able to communicate with each other. Simply, it is just like a contract, how two systems can interact and exchange the data with the help of this interface, guys. And if you think API as a waiter in a restaurant, you are the client and you are placing an order. That was the API request, and the waiter API is communicating your order to kitchen, who is the server. Here the client was the person who is ordering the food. Might be you went to a restaurant, take a real-time example, you act as a client and there was a kitchen, the server, who it acts as a server. In between you people there was a waiter which is API, and you are passing a request to API, you are ordering some food to waiter. That was the API request, guys, and automatically there will be some response for the request which you ordered, which is called bringing back that food to your table, which is API response. In this way, the things are going to be happen. These things are going to communicate between client and server. API is the one which acts as an interface between client and server. And client is giving some request, which is he ordering, and he is getting this response from the server. And API is the one which is communicating between these two, which acts as an interface, guys. With this, you understand how API is going to communicate and what exactly API was. And now we will see what are the different kinds of APIs which are existed in our Internet of Things. The first one is RESTful APIs. The most common type which uses HTTP methods such as GET, POST, PUT, DELETE. These are used for interacting with resources, guys. And coming to the next one, SOAP APIs. These SOAP APIs are the things which are going to be utilized for XML, Extendable Markup Language based protocol, which is often used in enterprise environments. And also GraphQL APIs. Here it was a new approach which allows client to request a specific data where a particular WebSocket, which is used for real-time bidirectional communications. And also what exactly a specific role of Webserver was. Till now you guys have seen what API was and what are the types of APIs. There are 4 types of APIs such as RESTful API, SOAP API, GraphQL API, WebSocket API. I already told you in my previous discussion about these 4 APIs. Got it, guys? And now we are entering into what web server was. A web server is a computer program which is going to serve different kinds of web pages to users. Here you are passing a request by browsing some HTTP by using URL, and it is going to revert back with your concerned request. This is how web servers are going to respond. And there are n number of popular web servers such as Apache, Nginx, and IAS. These are the different kinds of web servers which are presented. And How web servers are going to interact with APIs. Web servers are often acts as intermediates between clients and APIs, guys. These are going to handle requests and these are going to route them to appropriate application programmable interface, which sends them back to a client where we are providing with additional functionalities like caching, load balancing, and security purposes. If we combine these two together, like a particular web server and a particular API, application programmable interface, and web server together, then the power of Geo is going to rise up, which is API driven development. The power of Geo, when we combine these API and web server together, API driven development, which enables developer to build a particular modular and scalable applications by reusing the existing functionalities, guys. For that purpose, API driven development is going to be very helpful. And coming to microservice architecture, which is a second thing where APIs are crucial for connecting different kinds of microservices. For that purpose, we call this as microserver architecture. And coming to real-time applications, we are using WebSockets and APIs together for powering real-time experiences. And the next one is integration. These APIs are going to facilitate the integration of different types of systems and data resources. This is about the power of these two views. And what are the challenges and what are the considerations which has to be taken care? First, for designing an API, we need to create initiative and it should be well documented and it should be a secured API and which is essential to the user. And also performance optimization. We need to give assurance for efficient API responses, which is crucial for user experiences. Coming to security, we need to protect the API endpoints, guys, which having n number of vulnerabilities is paramount. And coming to error handling, we need to implement robust error handling mechanisms, which are vital. I can say you one word. By using these APIs and web servers together, these acts as a foundation for modern application developments where it is empowering the developers to create innovative and user-centric experiences. With this, we come to know that what kind of robust and scalable applications are designed by using these APIs and web servers, guys. Now we'll dig in much deeper to know about these things in detail. What an API was. I'm digging a little bit deeper, guys. Till now I have given you a small intro. Now I'll going a little bit depth. What exactly the definition was. An application programming interface. API stands for application programming interface. It is a set of definitions and protocols which are used for building an integrated application software. This is the definition. What was the purpose of this API was? Here the purpose of API was to facilitate the communication between different kinds of software appliances. That was the purpose. What are the different types of APIs? We already seen previously what exactly RESTful API was, what SOAP API was, what GraphQL API was, and what WebSocket API was. These are the four different types of APIs which are existed in our IoT. Have a look what these are. First one, understanding the RESTful APIs. The main definition for this RESTful APIs are REST is the representational state transfer. REST full form was representational state transfer, which is an architecture style for designing network applications. The key principles for this REST API was REST, which stands for representational state transfer, which is stateless, cacheability, uniform interface, layer system, and the code is on demand, guys. And what are the HTTP methods? The major methods such as get, post, put, delete, patch. And coming to JSON and XML, these are the common data formats which are used in REST API, which is representational state transfer application programmable interface. And the best example was a weather API, which is returning JSON data for a city. This is about understanding RESTful API, guys. And coming to web server, the foundation, and where the definition was a software application which handles HTTP requests and servers which are static and dynamic content. Both content is going to be presented. Either the content is static or the content is dynamic, guys. Both the things content is going to be presented in form of web servers. What exactly the role of API development was? It is going to act as a bridge between the clients and API endpoints. This is what the role was. And coming to popular web servers, Apache, Linux, and IAS, which we discussed from the past two classes. And what are the key components of these web servers are? The first one is request handling. The second one is request generation. The third one is static file serving. And the fourth one is dynamic context processing. These are the four key components which are existed, guys. And what web servers and API integrations are? The web servers which uses reverse proxies where to balance the load, to balance the caching and to maintain the security. API gateways which are used for traffic management, authentication, rate limiting. And coming to server side logic which is going to process API requests, which is going to interact with the databases. The best examples for these web servers and API integration was, I will show you a diagram which interacts with these web servers, APIs and backend services, guys. And API design best practices are RESTful API design guidelines. It was a resource-based URL which used for HTTP methods for CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete. These are the operations and proper response codes and also API versioning and also for API error handling. What API documentation was? There is an importance of clear and comprehensive documentation. And API security, we need to authenticate, we need to authorize whenever the data should be protected. This is what API documentation and API securities was. And coming to web service technologies, there is a comparison between the web servers like Apache, Linux, and IAS. The comparison stands on the key features of each individuals and the performance of each individuals and the use cases. We need to choose a correct web servers. Which are the factors to be considered? What kind of load was there? What kind of performance is given by the web server? What kind of security features are presented in that web server? By basing on these factors, we are going to choose a proper web server for our utilization. What are the basic configuration options for these web servers are? Whenever we are testing some particular API or whenever we are debugging the things, you need to know what kind of API testing was happening. We need to ensure a correct functionality and performance, guys. What are the testing tools which has to be used? Postman, Swagger UI and JMeter. These are the testing tools which has to be used for API testing and debugging, guys. And what are the debugging techniques? The debugging techniques are logging, error handling, debugging tools. These are the debugging techniques which are utilized, guys. And coming to the API security, there are some common vulnerabilities which are injection, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure. These are the common vulnerabilities. And the security best practices are, we need to give a proper input validation. We need to encrypt the data. We need to authenticate and we need to authorize the things. Then only a proper security practices are going to be done. Whenever it comes to API security, we need to utilize WAF, and API gateways which are used. And coming to the dynamic DO web applications, as I told you, API stands for Application Programming Interface and Web Servers. These are going to join together, which are the cornerstones of modern application development. These two will work together. API and web servers are going to work in tandem to deliver a seamless user experience to facilitate an efficient data exchange. What are the roles of API? API is going to act as an intermediate between the different software applications. Here it was defined a set of rules and protocols for communication purposes. It is going to expose the functionalities and the data is going to be utilized by the external systems, and it is going to enable the data exchange and integration. This is what the roles of API was. And coming to web server, it is going to handle HTTP requests and serves the web pages. It is going to act as a gateway between client and applications which can host API and which can serve API responses. And also we need to provide an essential infrastructure for web-based application. What was the interplay? API endpoint, which is a specific URL, unified resource located, which can be requested from web server. And coming to request handling, when a client sends a request to web server, the server determines the appropriate API endpoint and forward that request to you. And coming to response processing, API is going to process the request, which retrieves for manipulating the data and retrieves a response to the web server. And coming to the last one, data delivery, where the web server is going to deliver you the API responses to the client. This is how the interplay is going to be happen. A visual representation to you guys how a web request is and response cycle is going to be in both front end and back end. This was the front end client using some kind of web browser, and it is transferred to web server, from web browser to web server by using some URL, unified resource locator. And from there it is a business logic is applied. From storage the data is going to taken back and the web server is going to respond to web browser, and that will be displayed on client screen. This is how a web request and response is going to cycle is going to be happen. And coming to the key benefits of this relation was scalability, flexibility, efficiency, and security. Coming to the scalability, by using these two together, we are going to scale independently to increase to handle the increased traffic also. And this is a little bit flexible for loose coupling between systems and also for promoting flexibility and adaptability. Here, the web servers are going to optimize the delivery of API responses. And coming to security, web servers are going to provide security measures like authentication and authorization. And I can conclude you, these APIs and web servers have passed a resolution to share the data by understanding those roles and work together is going to utilized in building is crucial for building a robust and scalable software systems, guys. And coming to the importance, how this API design and security was, the blueprint for the success was, first you need to know what the developer experience was. You need to find out what the consistency was. You need to know what the flexibility was. You need to know what kind of performance that particular API is giving. You need to prepare a proper documentation which should be up to date and which is utilizing that API very effectively. And coming to developers experience, where a clear and initiative API designs are simply designed or not, and whether is there any consistency pattern was properly established or not, whether we are designing the APIs to accommodate the future changes or not. This has to be considered in the time of API designs. And coming to security, data is protected or not, any kind of security measures has been taken or initiated or not. Authentication and authorization, you need to implement a proper authentication and authorization mechanisms to prevent the unauthorized accesses, and rate limiting, protection against the abuse or denial of services attacks which are limited by API requests. And also error handling, graceful error handling, which prevents the information leaking from improving the better user's experience. You need to monitor the continuous logging procedure so that you are able to handle the traffic. What are the future trends of using this GraphQL? When GraphQL, this was the future of data fetching, guys, where client driven data fetching. This GraphQL is going to allow the clients to specify the exact data whatever they require, which is going to reduce the overfetching or underfetching concepts. Overfetching means, for suppose I require only 10 rupees. If you are giving 100 rupees, it is overfetched. If I require only 50 bucks, if you are providing only 10 rupees, it is underfetching. So you need to know what exactly the client driven data fetching was. And also you need to improve performance factor by using this GraphQL. By fetching the only required data, GraphQL is going to significantly identify the API performance. And coming to enhance the developer experience, by using this GraphQL, which is going to simplify the data management and reduce the API development time. And also real-time updates are going to be known to you. Why? Because we are providing up-to-date data to it. And what are the future trends? In future trends, microservice agriculture, which builds a modular applications. Here, Decoupled services. Microservices break down applications into smaller, which is independent, deployable services. And also the scalability. Each microservices are going to scalable independently based on the demand. And resilience. Isolated features have limited impact and overall the systems. And also the technology heterogeneity. Different kinds of technologies are used by using these microservices. What are the future trends of using these three together? GraphQL, microservices, and API economy. API economy was a new business model which is used for revenue generations. These are going to be used for monetizing the direct fees, user-based pricing, and premier features. The exact ecosystem development. API is going to attract the developer community and foster innovations and competitive advantages. It can differentiate the products and services, partnership, which enables a partnership and collaboration, guys. And coming to the things, what the convergence of trends are. GraphQL and microservices. GraphQL is often used for querying the data from multiple microservices which are created by unspecified API layer. And coming to API economy microservices, microservices are going to be exposed as API to create a new revenue streams. API economy and GraphQL. This can be used to build a flexible and efficient API and economy query. With this, I can conclude you my APIs as well as web servers, which are very helpful for our Internet of Things, guys. Thank you. Signing off with next class. I'll come to you with some more topic which is very important, which is related to this cloud offerings, guys. Thank you.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.